call to order the regular meeting of Medford Township, May 5th, 2026. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of May 5th, 2026 was included in a meeting notice sent to the Burlington County Times and the Central Record on January 7th, 2026, and advertised in said newspapers on January 11th, 2026, and January 15th, 2026, respectively. Posted on the website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building on January 7th, 2026, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file with the Office of the Municipal Clerk. Please rise for the flag salute.
Detail, present, march. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, march. Order, press.
Okay, Ms. Wicker, roll call, please.
Ms. Santamore? Here. Mr. Cox?
Here.
Ms. Mill?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Here.
Mayor Sizzle?
Here. Just a moment for the public before we begin our special presentation. We have two swearing-ins this evening, but I just want to make mention that following the presentations, I will be calling for an executive session. So if you are here for the regular meeting, there'll be about a 20-minute delay after the swearing-in ceremony, just to give everybody a heads up there. This time, Chief Dunleavy?
Good evening. I'd like to welcome our family members, friends, and community partners to tonight's swearing-in ceremony. I'd like to thank the mayor, township manager, members of council for giving us the time this evening to hold this ceremony and for the continued support of the police department. I'd also like to recognize the men and women of the Medford Township Police Department. Their dedication, professionalism, and commitment to service form the foundation of everything we do. I also want to acknowledge our civilian staff, whose hard work keeps this organization running efficiently every day. They are a tremendous asset to the agency. Tonight's a special night for two officers who will be sworn into their promoted positions. As an agency, we've long upheld the tradition of conducting these ceremonies publicly so that family, friends, and the community can share in celebrating these milestones. I want to congratulate both officers on their promotions. They've demonstrated leadership, professionalism, and unwavering dedication to our mission and to the service of the community. Their accomplishments reflect not only their hard work, but also the values that define this department. I'd first like to introduce Lieutenant Patrick Roby and his family and ask them to step forward. Patrick Roby grew up in Medford Township with his mother, father, and two siblings, where he went through Medford Township School District. He attended Shawnee High School, where he played football and basketball. Upon graduating high school, Patrick began work at the Medford Township Police Department as a part-time dispatcher. During that time, he was afforded the opportunity to attend the Gloucester County Police Academy, and in 2004, Patrick graduated class number 16 from the Gloucester County Police Academy and began his career with the Medford Township Police Department. Patrick has served as a communications officer, patrol officer, school resource officer, detective, and supervisor, where he was assigned to the Patrol Division, Criminal Investigative Bureau, and the School Resource Unit. He was also assigned to handle the following duties within our department during the course of his career: Terminal Agency Coordinator, Bias Crimes Officer, Megan's Law Liaison, Intelligence Officer, Forfeiture Officer, Firearms Instructor, Rifle Instructor, Community Relations Unit, Junior Police Academy Instructor, and FBI Crisis Negotiator. In December of 2025, he was promoted to the position of Lieutenant, where he now oversees the Criminal Investigation Bureau and the School Resource Unit. Patrick is accompanied tonight by his parents, his wife Lindsay Roby, and their three children, Lillian, Nolan, and Calvin. Patrick Roby.
I state your name.
I, Patrick Roby,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of
perform all the duties of
office of lieutenant,
office of lieutenant,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
My mom pinned it on my staff. No pressure. Good. All right, hurry up, take a picture. Come on. All right, go sit down.
I would now like to introduce Sergeant Nicole Falone and her family, and ask them to step up to the podium. Nicole grew up in Collingswood, New Jersey, and is a graduate of Collingswood High School. She went on to attend Cape May County Police Academy and began her law enforcement career as a Class II Special Law Enforcement Officer with the Wildwood Police Department. In April of 2006, Nicole was hired by the Medford Township Police Department and was assigned to the Patrol Division. Throughout her career, Nicole has been actively involved in community-focused initiatives, including Operation Santa, National Night Out, and the Strong Program. Her contributions to both the Community Relations Unit and the Recruitment Committee have helped in shaping the future of the department and its connection to the community. Nicole played a critical role in the creation and development of the agency's wellness program. As a program's coordinator, she has provided vital education and support to help personnel manage stress and navigate trauma experienced both on and off duty. Her credentials as a New Jersey Certified Resiliency Police Officer and her service as the agency's liaison to the Burlington County Multi-Agency Police Peer Support Program further highlight her commitment to fostering a healthier, more resilient organizational structure. Nicole served 14 years as a school resource officer, dedicating herself to fostering trust, mentorship, and building strong relationships with students, family, and staff. Her recognizable presence and genuine engagement have made her a respected and trusted presence in the lives of countless young people throughout the community. Nicole was assigned to the Criminal Investigation Bureau, where she served as a detective for 3 years. During this time, she played a key role in several high-profile investigations that led to successful outcomes for both the victims of serious crimes and the department as a whole. Nicole is the department's assistant accreditation manager and is currently working towards the agency's 5th reaccreditation. Nicole was recently promoted to the rank of sergeant and brings her valued leadership to the patrol division. Over the course of her career, she has earned numerous awards and commendations in recognition of her dedication and commitment to service. Above all, Nicole is proud of her family, whose love and support have been the foundation of her journey. Tonight, she is proudly accompanied by her husband, Greg, her daughters, Kate and Grace, her father, Charlie, and other family members and friends. Sergeant Falone.
I, state your name,
I, Nicole Falone,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of sergeant
of the office of sergeant
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
In closing, I want to once again thank the mayor, the manager, and town council for giving us the opportunity tonight. I also extend my congratulations to Lieutenant Roby and Sergeant Falona for their well-deserved achievements and much continued success. I ask everyone to please take a moment to remember the oath of office is not simply stated, it's lived. It shapes our mission, guides our service, and anchors the strength of the agency. That strength is shaped by the families and friends who stand behind us with constant support and sacrifice. They deserve our heartfelt gratitude. Thank you and congratulations to all.
Okay. At this time, as mentioned, I would like to make a motion for executive
To discuss litigation and contract negotiations.
litigation contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Ms. Santamore?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzle?
Aye. All right, at this time, we're in executive. I again want to thank all the police and Chief Dunley for the ceremony. We'll see you in about 20 minutes. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I'm reconvening the open portion of the public meeting. We discussed the matters related to our executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We discussed matters involving active litigation as well as contract negotiations.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to, am I doing this right? Yeah.
Did you want to involve the resolutions, removing them from the consent agenda at
Yeah,
this time?
separately.
Yes, so at this time, we just asked, just for a point of order, Mayor, that items number 8, resolutions 101-26, resolution 102-26, resolution 103-26, and resolution 104-26 be removed from the consent agenda to be addressed as individual resolutions.
What he said.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right. We need a roll call on that?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so those will just be moved out of the consent agenda. So back to the original agenda. Any communications by council at this time? No? Okay. Scheduling items in addition to the May 19th Town Hall meeting at the Public Safety Building here at 7 p.m., we are adding a special meeting on May 12th, that's next Tuesday, at 6:30 here at the Public Safety Building. Now we have approval of minutes. We have March 17th, 2026 council meeting minutes and April 14th, 2026 executive session minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. There's no listed discussion items, but at this time I'd like to ask that we add a topic for affordable housing. Mr. Varga?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, member of the public. So tonight on the agenda, there is an ordinance as well as 5 separate resolutions. So every town in the state of New Jersey, as we've been discussing for the past 4 months, are required to adopt certain implementing ordinances and resolutions to demonstrate compliance with each township's fourth round affordable housing obligation. Now, the township has pursued what's known as a redevelopment process in order to demonstrate compliance with our 4th round. We've adopted a redevelopment plan, and we've proceeded accordingly. The court on March 13th, so technically under the state regulations, state statutes governing this, the entire redevelopment process and how we intended to comply with our 4th round was required to be adopted by March 15th. And that was required across the state of New Jersey. Every single municipality was required to do it. This municipality requested an extension from the court until we've asked for May 22nd. The court on March 13th gave us a 60-day extension until May 13th to adopt all of our enabling ordinances and all of our enabling resolutions to demonstrate compliance that we are utilizing this redevelopment process to satisfy our 4th round obligation. The first initial ordinance that's going to be introduced on first reading, that is the model affordable housing ordinance that was prepared by the Division of Consumer Affairs that we have discussed numerous times during public comment that every municipality across the state is required to adopt. It just essentially codifies and makes clear a uniform affirmative marketing procedure, a uniform development fee, a uniform procedure for how affordable units are to be counted, what units are to be affordable, how they're to be constructed, just all the nuts and bolts of each affordable development. And it's uniform. Again, it's across the state. It's prepared by DCA. It's a part of the enabling statute where the legislature said, DCA, go make this ordinance, and then every town is required to adopt it. So that's the initial ordinance. It's required to be adopted. We are required to have it adopted by our compliance deadline, which is May 14th. So this is when it's going to be introduced. The next resolution is the township's adopting an affordable housing spending plan in accordance with the township's fourth round affordable housing obligation. Now that is resolution 100-2026. Now the spending plan is essentially the township's game plan, their roadmap of how they're going to gather affordable funds and how we intend to spend it in accordance with the applicable COA regulations, which, Mr. Noel, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we are pursuing a rehabilitation process with our funds. So our goal is to use the affordable funds that are received to rehabilitate existing affordable structures so that they can remain affordable. Now, the remaining four ordinances under tonight's for consideration are conditionally designating
I'm sorry to stop you. Was there a second matter in Resolution 100 that, from our spending plan?
For the deeds.
Was it?
Correct. So you can the township is always able to use deeds, deed extensions to utilize to obtain credits towards the fifth round. So this spending plan doesn't affect our ability to do that.
Great.
It is just the compliant plan with the applicable state regulations so that we can demonstrate to the state, demonstrate the Fair Share Housing Center, demonstrate to the court that we have a state compliant, regulatory compliant plan of we are going to get affordable funds and we're going to use them for affordable purposes. We're not going to use it to offset the budget and help pay for a new police cruiser. Then there are...
The plan can be amended to include the deed restrictions.
Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
So the remaining four resolutions are resolutions 101-2026, 102-2026, 103-2026, and 104-2026. Now, these four resolutions are your enabling resolutions that the court is requiring the township to adopt by our compliance deadline, demonstrating that we are conditionally designating a developer for these affordable lots. Now, these four affordable lots, we commonly refer to them the first as Flying W, second as Kirby's Mill, the third as Trollinger, and the fourth as Rick's Auto Body. These four lots are a part of the redevelopment plans that we've had hearings on, except for Flying W, which was a part of the third round. We are required to adopt this. There's no wiggle room. You have to do it. It has to be adopted. It has to be submitted to the court. It is a part of our compliance submission. With respect to Flying W, you may be scratching your head saying, well, why do we have to adopt this if this is a part of our third round? Well, we had an unmet need in our third round because involving senior residences. So as a part of our compliance for the fourth round, we have to demonstrate that we are complying with our third round obligation, designating a developer in order to complete our unmet need from our third round. And that is what this is doing. But I need to be clear, this is only a conditional designation. D.R. Horton has provided redevelopment agreements. We are reviewing them. We are negotiating them. They only become the fully designated, the statutory redeveloper of the property upon the execution of that redevelopment agreement, which has not been done yet. So this is essentially getting the township through compliance onto first base, showing the court, showing Fair Share Housing Center, showing the public that we are complying with our constitutional obligation. There's no wiggle room. There's no fighting back. The line in the sand has been drawn, and it's the compliance deadline of May 14th. If the mayor and council have any questions, I would be happy to answer them, but this is the court's order.
I don't know if the public knows COA. What does it stand for, and what is it?
Committee on Affordable Housing.
And?
So the Committee on Affordable Housing is the state. I apologize that I'm talking to my back, but it's just a directional microphone. So the Committee on Affordable Housing is is essentially the state agency or state entity that would create and promulgate the regulations that regulate how affordable housing is performed and done.
I know that, I just want to make sure that the public knew. We use acronyms sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, DCA is involved now, which is the Department of Consumer Affairs, based off the latest bill that was adopted by Governor Murphy. So there are state agencies that do have overview responsibilities. And again, the Affordable Housing Ordinance, which is Ordinance 2026-11, is the DCA model ordinance. Any other questions I can answer? Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right. At this time, we will open it up to public comment. If anyone would like to speak during the public comment section, I will do my best to limit to 5 minutes. Please come to the microphone, state your name and any portion of your address you feel comfortable stating. Chief Dovey, if you could keep the time for us. Okay. Ma'am, would you like to go first?
Good evening, and thank you for your service to our town. I'll be brief. I want to reiterate a concern that
Can
was
you
raised.
just state your name, please?
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Taunton Boulevard.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard.
And Joanne, would you move that mic down just because
There you go.
Thank you. I want to hear you.
Okay. I'll be brief. I want to reiterate a concern that was raised at the last meeting I wasn't able to attend. It is important to note that I am speaking not as a Republican or a Democrat, but as someone who values fairness and respect for others. I ask that you consider this issue from that same perspective. I am troubled by reports of actions by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE involving arrests and detentions without clear justification or due process. I am also troubled by an article I read just today in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'd be happy to forward that article via email. Essentially, it reports that more immigrants are being arrested by ICE in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but a smaller percentage have criminal records. In January of 2026, 68% of those that were arrested in New Jersey had no criminal convictions or charges of any kind. Many detainees are then held in detention facilities operated by private companies, the largest being Core Civic and the GEO Group. In July of 2025, the One Big Beautiful Bill allocated roughly $75 billion to ICE, including about $45 billion for new detention facilities. These two publicly traded companies are benefiting from that expansion. In 2025, Core Civic reported about $2.2 billion in revenues, with $117 million in net income, while the GEO Group reported about $2.6 billion in revenue and $254 million in net income. That's from their annual reports. Citizens Bank is leading the financing for these two entities as they expand ICE detention capacity. As a result, concerned citizens are applying economic pressure on Citizens Bank to reconsider its involvement. I trust that the Council and the Township administration share a commitment to the ideals of American democracy. Therefore, I ask the Council to review whether the Township has a relationship with Citizens Bank. If so, please consider moving to another institution. If we do not currently use Citizens Bank, I urge you to keep this issue in mind when evaluating any future banking relationships. I did submit an open request yesterday regarding the Township's banking relationships, but I understand it takes a little time to receive a response. I thank you for listening to that concern and for all the time that you spend on other Township matters. If I can switch trains and bring up another topic.
Sure, you still have time. Just to answer your question, I just want to, we do not bank with Citizens Bank. We did verify that after one of the other members of the public asked that question, and all the members of the administration did just give me the thumbs up that we are not banking with them.
Okay, good. So in the future, if they come knocking at our door, just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to ask about, I did watch the last meeting on my computer, and this is just a really innocent question. I have all corporate experience, not town financial experience. I am a CPA, though, and I listened to these cost-sharing arrangements or shared services
Shared
arrangements.
service,
Pardon me?
yes. Shared service,
Yes, shared
yes.
services. And it just it made me scratch my head, and I thought, like, who has a job that's getting paid full-time in another township that has time to spend on another job? I never had that luxury in any position I ever held. I worked my 40 hours plus for a full-time salary. So I just kind of like seems strange to me, and I was just curious how that works. Like, if Mr. Umba has a full-time job in Southampton, how does he have the time to come work for us, and like, how does this all work?
Sure.
Something to keep in mind is that Mr. Dovey also has a full-time job as the chief of fire and EMS.
Right.
He's working for us. So to give the short answer is, if we get two full-timers to give a little bit of time, it's working right now. We had a full-time gentleman, and we asked him to go.
Mm-hmm.
So until we have a chance to put out until we're in a good financial base, and then we will put out RFPs for a town manager, that's kind of what we're stuck with, for lack of a better term. I would love to give you like a bunch of pretty answers, but they'd be hogwash. We have an incredible guy who stepped up. Unbeknownst to him, he was voluntold that he would be the town manager. But since it was so much, Southampton reached out to us, actually reached out to our mayor and said, hey, we got a guy who's been doing this long enough. He's full-time, but he doesn't use all those hours. Do you want the help? For us, it worked.
Yeah. And to your maybe broader question, that it's I don't want to say extremely common, but our tax assessor is shared out. Our construction officials are shared out. It's a common practice in municipal government to share services. And I'm from the private sector. It doesn't make sense to me if I hire a department manager or even a department, I'd fill up their workload. It's I don't understand. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to explain that. Maybe I could defer.
I'm specifically here for administrative support. I'm not the township manager. I cannot make legal decisions on behalf of the town. My job is to give recommendations to the township manager. My employment with Southampton is for 35 hours. I can tell you right now I am not working 35 hours. I am working well beyond that, but my job is to provide administrative support to various items that the town might have. I've been a township administrator or a business administrator or a town manager. Those are the various terms in municipal government for 12 years now.
So we pay Southampton?
Correct. The agreement is between Medford Township and Southampton.
Okay.
And just as we would internally with the shared service agreement, however they utilize those funds that we pay is on them. That's not ours to decide.
So we don't pay
Mr. Arnold
directly.
does not receive a paycheck from Medford, no.
And I know the deputy mayor put this on the record, but I'll put it on the record as well as the actual individual. This is a shared service. If my township committee passes a shared service agreement, I'm obligated under my employment terms with Southampton to honor that shared service. But I have no intention of coming here full time. I have no intention of leaving Southampton. I am a Medford resident, so I have been living here since 2017. My wife and I love this community. She grew up in Mansfield and wanted to raise her family in Medford. So I just want to help, but I'm not the township manager. I know there's a lot of reports out there calling me the township manager. I have no legal authority as the township manager for this town. That is Chief Dovey. I'm here to give administrative support and help answer any questions that you can do. And I think it is important. In my role in Southampton, it's important to help the public understand what shared services do. I think Lindsay touched upon it in her presentation to the town. Anything that is done by shared service is outside the cap. So any spending that you might do is outside the cap. We are restricted under state statute for revenue, 2.5%, appropriations, 3.5%. So we can't grow beyond that. If it is a shared service item that you're paying for, you are receiving that outside the cap. That is not subject to that cap amount. So as the mayor talked about sharing other employees within the municipality, you do that in order to offset costs that then moves those salaries outside the cap. Southampton has a shared service with court. We are a state police town. We do not have our own police department. That means that the town only takes in a very small percentage, township ordinances violations that the state police might write. The lion's share of that money goes to the state. So the township decided to share its court with another town, Mansfield Township, and we pay them to do that service. That is a service that is not within the cap. It is outside the cap. So when that grows, it doesn't count against what the township is legally allowed to raise within the appropriations cap and then the revenue cap. To make it more simple, revenue is the taxes that you bring in. Appropriations is the spending that you put out.
Do we have a time frame for the shared service, how long it will continue, or was there a contract or anything?
I believe the shared service agreement was for a 1-year term from the start.
With a 30-day out.
Okay.
With a 30-day out, that is typical with shared service agreements. I would hope that we can get to a point that you can advertise and do that route and go through that. But I just want to make it perfectly clear. I'm a resident here. I'm your neighbor. I'm just here to help, and I'm not your township manager. So I want to make sure that that's clear and on the record.
Thank you.
Do I have any time left? I have one
Yeah,
quick.
definitely.
Third topic. D.R. Horton, are there other builders that, I know you haven't approved anything, but you mentioned them, and I was just curious, are there other builders that you'll be talking to, or is?
No, because the way it works is under the redevelopment law, we can only, I'm sorry, I thought I had it on. So, under the redevelopment law, we can only designate the builder that has an interest in the property, whether it's a contract purchaser or a leaseor. Here, D.R. Horton are the contract purchasers and/or have an interest in the purchase of the property or some other leasehold interest in the property. So unless there's another developer that has an interest in those lots that comes forwards as a proposed concept plan, the answer is no. The only developer that we are reviewing and discussing a redevelopment agreement with is D.R. Horton.
Okay. Hopefully somebody else will come forward. All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wilson?
Zach Wilson, 51 North Main Street. Just kind of piggybacking off of a couple of things that my neighbor said. Just touching real quick on the ICE coordination with municipalities. Given the tone of our budget conversations, I really hope that we are instructing that we are not doing anything in there to waste our police's resources and cost on fulfilling federal obligations. So we already pay federal taxes for that. I hope that we're not using our municipal taxes for that as well. I'd like to touch on first the admin roles and responsibilities. My general statements today kind of have to do with openness, so I'm hoping that we can get some good information out here to help with the public's understanding. I appreciate Mr. Umba's just kind of clarifications there on what you're allowed to do, the legal responsibilities, all of that. It would be really good to potentially maybe publish for the public a bit of a table on the responsibilities that remain under the manager and the responsibilities that Mr. Umba would be taking over. If any of those actually would fall under the manager, or if they're more just kind of general municipal tasks that he's picking up. I would also love to know if there is an additional remaining process for the removal of Mr. Hornicle, or is that completed? The removal of Mr. Hornicle, is that completed, or do we still need additional legislative processes?
I'm sorry, it's completed.
Okay. So at this point, we are allowed to publish for the position and advertise for it, advertise for the role, and ask for resumes, start the interview process as well. And I understand the position that was just stated, that we are in a difficult position financially, and so the determination is made to use the shared services rather than backfill a manager who would be potentially more money than what the shared services would be. I would ask, what is the difference between the shared services per month versus what we would be paying a township manager?
Roughly 42,000 a year.
42 or 48,000 minus, not including fringe and pension benefits.
So, and then, right, so it's 42 plus FICA
Plus.
and,
Pension and potential health care if there's
Right.
no opt-out.
right.
So I'm sorry, it's 42 plus some change is the difference between what we would be paying Mr. Hornicle, which should be already part of the budget, by the way, but what we would be paying Mr. Hornicle versus what we're currently paying? Okay.
So,
So-
the way you look at, so for an employment standard, the town, there's multiple buckets for an actual employee. So there's the salary portion, then there's the FICA, Social Security portion.
I understand
that's
SIB.
employer,
I
and then
totally
it's the
understand.
pension.
I totally understand
Yeah.
SIB.
And then
What I'm asking
pension,
for is your
and
total
then-
cost.
Yeah, so
What
you
is
would
the
have to
difference in
deline-
total cost?
You'd have to delineate the pension cost based off of the salary that was given to the position, and if healthcare was given, or if there's an opt-out, the state does then allow for $5,000 for the opt-out. In a shared service situation, it is a one number that is then paid monthly. It's responsibility of the receiving municipality to cover then the cost associated to the employment.
Right. So at the end of the day, we have two sides of this equation. We have what we were paying Mr. Hornicle, which is called our SIB, right? Salary Incentive Benefits. And that's going to be add up to a flat dollar amount for the year. On the other side, we have what we're paying Southampton for your services, which adds up to a flat dollar amount per year. I'm not asking for the individual breakouts. I'm asking what is the difference in that flat dollar amount so that we understand the actual savings that we're getting out of this arrangement. If it's $40,000+ a year, that rate bakes out almost to, between $3,000 and $4,000 per month. Okay, which is great. That's decent. But I question the decision to do that rather than immediately get competent. I'm not saying you guys are incompetent. I'm saying that we get a full managerial position in here as quickly as possible because we benefit a lot from that. And quite frankly, we don't burn out the guy who's in charge of coordinating our emergency responses to life-threatening situations. That is not a tenable situation. It shouldn't have been a tenable situation for the past 30 days. It shouldn't be for the next 30 days. It cannot be for a year. Not only will we burn him out and lose him, but we will put people's lives at risk. And that is the decision that is being made with this approach to managing budgets. Is $50,000 a year worth a problem because he was too burned out to do the job properly? And I know that you know. I'm just saying. That is the risk that you're talking about. What is the cost? What is the price that you're putting on every individual's heads in this town based on an emergency response? You're saying they're worth $50,000.
And what percent of 50,000 is of our budget? I mean, if you look at it
That's what I would love to know. What is the appreciable difference in our savings to do it this way versus going out and finding a full-time manager, letting you get back to your normal job and your life? And I appreciate everything that you're doing. But I think that this is a poorly thought out plan, and it puts people's lives at risk. And I think you need to really take another look at how we do this and how quickly we can get that request out there so that we can move forward. Maybe we have to, if it's a shared services for a year and we're required to use that, great. We've got a transfer process, somebody in place to support a new town manager coming in.
So, real quick, because you asked that, and I'm a big believer in my job to get you answers. I think that's probably something that we need to have more here as a resident, speaking as a resident here. You asked for the cost, so roughly $40,000 in salary difference. A current PERS rate for the employer is to pay 17.61% of the salary of the individual. That would be $32,094.58. FICA, obviously, I believe is roughly 7.5% is usually the standard that people look at. That would be $13,669.05. I have no clue if Mr. Hornicle took health care or not took health care, but let's err on the side of caution. Let's say he didn't take the health care. He would be entitled to a family plan and would get a $5,000 stipend for not taking the health care plan. So if you're adding the 13,669 and 5 cents plus the 32,94.58 plus the 5,000 plus you said 42,000.
42,000.
Was the difference? You're looking at $92,763.63 in total, based off of the salary provided.
And that's the difference in cost between what we would have paid him. And is that prorated for what we've already paid him for this year, or is that looking at a full year run rate?
I was just doing round numbers at the 182.
So we're looking at a full year run rate, even though we're already a quarter way through the year. So
I
it's
was just
actually
doing
it's
that.
actually less in
Right.
in cost there. Okay, great. So again, point stands. I think that you're making a financial decision there based on our lives being undervalued. I'd like you to revisit that. Last point here, and I'm going to recapture a little bit of time based on the back and forth. I would like, in the interest of openness, to understand why the CR language is no longer being included in the red book or being made available online prior to these meetings. When I come in here, I expect to be able to read the language of the continuing resolutions that you are potentially voting on with no discussion. I don't understand why they've stopped. I don't understand how this has been brought up before and it hasn't been fixed. A lot of you have talked about openness and transparency, and allowing the public to see these documents is a key part of that. And I do believe that it's part of the Sunshine Law, but I would like to verify that, and I don't need an answer for it now, but I'll check on it myself.
When was the CR brought up before? I don't recall.
I've
hearing
asked about it before.
It's not CR, it's resolution.
The continuing resolution.
No, continuing resolution is federal. That's what they call it. We only refer to our resolutions as resolutions here. So I think that might be
That would-
getting confused.
absolutely.
And I believe
sorry,
it's
I meant consent. Not
Yeah,
continuing.
consent.
Consent
Yeah,
resolution.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continuing
That's what I was
resolution.
thinking. I have not heard this.
Yes, by consent resolution. That
I'm with you.
language for that has historically been included in the red books at the back and available with the agendas so that we can read that language and understand them, because there's a lot more information in that verbiage than what you talk about during these meetings, and I don't understand why they're not there.
I don't know your policies. I do believe that it's set by each individual municipality by if they're putting things out in a draft form. It's left up to the council's, the governing body's decision, because they're not in final form until the end, but it would be an action by council. I'm sorry, I'm not using the microphone. It would be an action by council to set a policy to allow for documents. I think the only document, and again, my wife's the lawyer in the family. I'm not the lawyer. I'm just, the lonely administrator. I believe the only document required under the law is for the bills list to be publicly available prior to the meeting.
Correct with the bills list, but the other thing is a published agenda.
Yeah, so it's a published agenda, but what Mr. Wilson is asking for is for the actual draft resolutions, and if that is to be done, you would then need to set a policy.
Okay.
When I arrived in Southampton, they did not do it. They did not put
Understood.
it out. I recommended to
Just
them.
in the interest of time, I'd like to say that historically they have been included, and if you're saying that it requires an act of council to stop that or change that policy, I'd like to know when that occurred, because I don't think it has.
Yes, Ms. Ryan.
Yes, you're correct. Historically, we had the draft resolutions available before the meeting so people could comment on them. The previous manager decided to stop that practice.
They were available through most of last year.
They were, and then he stopped the practice.
Okay. I would request that council turn that around so that you can live up to the openness and transparency that you've all promised us.
I would just recommend the council, if you're establishing the policy, it needs to clearly delineate, and what we do in Southampton is we put a nice red stamp at the top called draft, because you don't want corporate documents to be then misconstrued with draft documents. There are several times when a council might change the language of a resolution or ask for an amendment or something like that on the floor here at a meeting. I would just say, if you're doing that policy, make sure it says clearly draft. Anyone can produce the mayor's signature or other people's signatures and put a document on there and that it's a fake document.
Chief Jovi, is that something we could have start sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that with council's approval. I mean, we could set that for the next meeting as long as.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last note on the information available to the public. I asked this at least 3 to 4 times over the last couple of years on this. When you publish addresses that are part of legislation, it would be great if you could include the actual street address on these
Yes.
in addition to the block and lot number. It's very difficult to try to go through and find out what you're going to be talking about, having to look up the block and lot number on maps and tax records.
Good, I thought it was just me.
The last note, and I'll sit down following this because I don't know how much of this you're actually going to respond to, but in terms of the affordable housing and openness around this, I'd like to request the case number for the extension request that we filed and the result in the court's decision.
Sure.
BUR.
One more time. BUR-L-171-25.
-25. Okay, thank you very much.
Issued on 3/13/26.
And we've talked about that these are conditional designations of D.R. Horton as the redeveloper, but you also talked about a deadline for the final redevelopment plan approval, and apologies, there was a lot of conversation there. I didn't know which dates applied to which. What is the final deadline, or what is the deadline for the final redevelopment plan approval?
The redevelopment plan has already been approved.
Sorry, whatever it is that has to happen after D.R. Horton is conditionally designated.
We are actively negotiating in good faith. There is no firm deadline at this moment.
Okay. What happens if D.R. Horton is not conditionally designated by the, what date did you say? May?
You're going to ask a question that at this time we can't respond to because
I'm sorry, what was the deadline that you gave in March? March 13th?
May 13th.
May 13th, I mean?
May 13th.
Okay.
May 13th is our compliance deadline to have all enabling resolutions and ordinances. We are actively negotiating with D.R. Horton to name them as the developer.
Okay.
What happens afterwards, that's an issue that we can't speak on because I don't know.
Doesn't that happen with these resolutions? Is that what you're saying?
No, this is a conditional designation. We have to agree to the agreement. Once the agreement is agreed to, then they become the statutory designated developer.
So in 8 days, we have to work through all of that and
No.
designate them and
No.
approve that before?
No. We have to have all our enabling documents uploaded. The resolutions conditionally designating D.R. Horton.
That's part of what has to be uploaded.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to get to. I
Yes.
was trying to understand the May 13th deadline that you were talking about, and I didn't understand how. So following that, we then have time to do all of the negotiations and approvals and all of that.
We're going to meet with D.R. Horton. We're going to negotiate.
What's the approval date? What's the deadline after May 13th? Is there another one where we have to do something else after that by, besides just get them done in 10 years?
The court, assuming we submit our compliance documents and the Township Council acts favorably on the resolutions, then the judge will issue an order of repose. And in that order of repose and the final order agreed to with Fair Share Housing Center, there will be additional deadlines and dates set, including a mid-year review, which is 5 years from the date of the order, saying, here's where we are, here's how we're demonstrating compliance.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I've talked repeatedly before about how round 4, I understand, is kind of in the books, and these are all just formalities that we're crossing right now. I'd like to close out with a question on Plan 5. My understanding is that there's a rumor going around that there is a proposed solution where a builder would be able to designate a site to avoid market rate building entirely and just dedicate it to affordable housing. I'd like to know if that's accurate, if you can share anything about that on round 5, or what might be available there.
So you're talking. So there's a way to get an extra credit for affordable units if the municipality is if the builder comes in and dedicates the property to the municipality uses its funds out of its affordable housing trust fund to then go out through the RFP and designate an affordable housing developer to come in and construct 100% affordable units. So that is a way where you can demonstrate compliance. I don't remember off the top of my head the 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 credit worthiness that it counts for, but that is an option. But again, you have to have all the funds in your affordable housing trust fund to pay that developer to construct all the affordable units. And the developer
potentially 20 years from now. Because if
Correct.
we're talking about round 5, we're talking about 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay. So question again, is there truth to the rumor that you have been approached from a builder with an opportunity to designate property that can then be used for the round 5 affordable housing requirements?
I'm not aware of anything, but at the end of the day, whether or not we have been approached by a potential that could be a contractual negotiation, so if anybody is aware, we're just not going to answer the question. Because
Understood. I appreciate it. This has been my notes and comments on your openness and transparency.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just I think it is important for the town to know, the March 15th deadline was set by the state. And after that, it's now set up for court order designating, and there's no uniformity there. I'll use Southampton, for example. We have a order that grants us till the end of the year, and based off of what our plan is. Another town might have a court order that is, 3 months from now. I think it is important to understand that under the fourth round, Governor Murphy gave reasonable numbers to municipalities. You then had to meet those reasonable numbers, and he gave a deadline, the state gave a deadline of March 15th. After that date, it's now subject to your compliances with the court. As Mr. Vargas stated, on May 13th, with a new order, it depends on what the judge is looking at and how he's determining that. So that's where I think, Mr. Wilson, to your point, that the confusion of dates, we can't really give that to you because it could be subject to change at any moment based off of a court order. And so it's the fluidness of dates and when, and that's where I think some confusion can happen, is because you might read in the paper, Southampton has until December 31st of 2027 or 2026 to provide certain documents as part of our compliance plan, but you're hearing as part of the compliance plan that Medford has that they had a May 13th, 2026 date. Again, all of these orders are going to Judge Cook. He is our assignment judge in Burlington County Vicinage, and he's also the Mount Laurel judge for this county. So it's subject to him and his discretion on how they name these dates. So you're not going to get uniformity past the March 15th date because it will be case by case in each town. I just want to make sure that record's out there. I know there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of moving parts. COA is kind of an animal unto itself. But it's important to know that Medford's items might not be the same as Mansfield, as Southampton, or as another municipality.
Once we pass the March 15th deadline.
Yes, it is all governed by your court.
Correct. Okay. Mary
We were
Lucas.
waiting for you.
Good evening, everyone. Mary Lucas, 207 Taunton Boulevard. A couple of things. As of our last meeting, we found out that employees had received a raise, and council was going to look into how that transpired. And my recommendation is at this point that we need to know that information, certainly, as residents, but beyond that, it would make sense to cease those raises now, and certainly their health benefits should continue and so forth, but go back to their salary as of December 31st before the new year and they received a raise. It's not fair to the community that these folks are going to be getting continued finances for the remainder of the year, and us as taxpayers, we're going to be paying more taxes. So it would make sense, and I think council has a fiduciary responsibility to the municipality. This was done in some error or without council's approval, unless, I don't think you guys knew about it. But even so, I think there's a time now that you can sort of stop the bleeding, if you will, at least in this particular area, given our fiscal constraints. And I think that's something that really should be considered. Additionally, we were talking about Bowman and Company, the audit firm. And again, unfortunately, council, this present council, was not part of the past 8 years of cumulative issues. But I think it's still worth pursuing and looking at all of those audits to see what can be gleaned from that how in a world where you have the audit over here and then you have the budget over here and never the twain shall meet, it would just seem that there would be indicators over time that we're in this downward spiral, and now everybody's hair is on fire because we have these issues, financial issues. And it's a problem for us and it's a problem for the municipality. So I think going forward, I think whoever on council would be designated, I don't know what roles each one of you have, particularly regarding the township responsibilities, but collectively, I think you should all at least take a look at the Bowman files and see what happened there, because even the summaries alone should give some indication of a problem after 8 years, you would think. And recommendations after 8 years, I would think, would have some kind of influence on the budget going forward. And so in terms of that, back to the shared service issue for a moment. I understand the explanation. It was very well articulated. My question is, why don't we just go out, submit a proposal for a full-time administrator or manager? It just doesn't make sense. Why are we waiting? We know if Daniel is gone, there's no reason why we shouldn't move forward and have a full-time person, our own full-time person. Someone who will be 100% vested in Medford. And I'm not saying that Mr. Umba is not committed to his responsibilities here. And sort of having said that as well, have Mr. Umba's responsibilities been delineated by council?
I'm sorry?
Have Mr. Umba's responsibilities been delineated by council?
Mr. Umba is here for administrative support to Mr. Dovey.
I understand that.
And in our form of government, Mr. Dovey is the CEO of the town at this
Right.
moment, and he has the authority to delegate staff to his wishes. Right? It's not our.
Now, I understand that, but it was very clear when Daniel stood up here, no one really set out responsibilities. And I think it would just be, everyone has to have some kind of guidelines.
That's along the lines of what Zach had said, like who does what.
I'm sorry, Michelle.
It's along the lines of what Zach was asking for, who does what, I think. But I think you would even notice when we asked a question of the town, we asked Chief Dovey. We don't ask Mr. Umba.
So,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I don't want to take away from Mrs. Lucas's time. The manager, under the Faulkner Act, the manager has clear job descriptions. You can also find that in the township's code book under Chapter 5. It delineates what the council's responsibilities are and then what the manager's responsibilities are. One specific section under, and let me pull it up here, is the township manager is found under Article 3 of Chapter 5, or Article 3 of Chapter 5, and if you go down, there is general powers and duties under item 13, and it lists 9 duties. And then there's delegation of duties that's listed under item 15, which puts out what the manager is permitted to do as the chief executive officer and the chief administrative officer of the town. I serve at the pleasure of Mr. Derby. So my role and responsibility is to provide administrative support to him. If he assigns me to investigate a matter, I have to report back to him. As I stated before, I have no legal authority as the manager to do anything in this town because I'm not the manager. My job is to serve at the pleasure of the manager and be assigned whatever topic that he gives me and then to report back to him to then enact. I don't have access to the manager's email. When Mr. Dovey has an email that he wants me to review, he forwards it to my Southampton email so that I can review it. My shared service agreement says I'm not allowed to take any documents from Medford. My job is to review them and provide clarification and or my experience or my review of statute so that we're not duplicating efforts and keeping on track for what we would do. I have no statutory responsibility other than to the manager and to take duties and responsibilities from him.
I appreciate that. That really wasn't my question, though. I'm just wondering.
We are the legislative branch of this form of government. We do not have the power to direct Chief Dovey or anyone sitting in the manager's role to the job in which they choose to do to run the town. And I understand what you're asking, but you're asking us to do something that we are not able to do.
So
then going forward, then, how will you select a new township manager? What will be the criteria then for that position?
We ask and have asked for very clear communication matters to be discussed with council, but ultimately the decisions made by the manager are that person's decisions. We can't direct the manager to make certain decisions.
No, but I'm
especially-
saying when you're going to develop the criteria for that position, it'll be council that will be doing that.
We'll interview the candidates as a
Correct.
group.
Yeah, council would put out the RFP, or they would put out the hiring practice, just like they would for any other employee in the township. And then based on what's in the administrative code for the Township of Medford for responsibilities of the manager, they would then cite that into the job description. And
Right.
then, interview, and then clearly once the person is hired, then they would establish guidelines for their expectations of that. And I know, just filling in my acting role the last month, one of the biggest things has been communication, and communicating back and forth with council, with the mayor, with the legislative body to keep them up to date as to everything that's going on in the town. Because just like anywhere else, they shop at ShopRite, and somebody will come up and say, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And I'll use the instance this evening. We had a brush fire earlier today at the farmstead, and there was some damage to the back of the building. As soon as they came in tonight, I grabbed them and said, "Hey, listen, here's a picture. Here's what happened. Yes, it is still very dry out there, even though we've had plenty of rain, but those are the expectations that council has put on me and Mr. Umba, and I believe that's what they would put on the next manager."
And that's been, I think, every governing body's directive to the person that they hire as a manager. We're not here to tell them what to do. We're not here to tell Chief Dobie how to react to these certain things. We just want to know from a communication standpoint.
I would say, Ms. Lucas, doing this job for 12 years, your job description and what you're supposed to be doing is clearly spelled out in state law. To make a statement that you didn't know what was expected of you, you know what's expected of you. You can read these 9 items, and it is very, very clear what your job responsibilities are, and how you are supposed to operate and how you are supposed to work. This form of government is very different from many other forms of government. The form of government of which I'm employed in is the Township Committee form of government. I am not the chief executive of the town. I act as the chief executive in between meetings, because the chief executive in that form of government is the 5 governing body members. So I'll liken this form of government to the federal government. The manager is the president of the United States. The council is Congress. Their job is to promulgate laws that outline what the manager can and cannot do to administer the government for Medford. And if you go through, I don't want to belabor and read all 9 items. That's why I said where it is in the code book. But if you read that, you will clearly know what the manager's job or duties are. And I think you would then understand what my role is to assist in those. But I have not one charge to enact any one of those 9 items.
Thank you. I worked in civil service. I understand all that. Thank you. My other question here is, does forwarding email to Southampton email impact availability for open records council?
The only way it might is the only way it might is that, again, it depends on what's the subject of the email, because you have inter or intra-agency advisory consultant for deliberative process material, which if there are emails between Chief and Mr. Umba about an administrative task that the Chief has assigned Mr. Umba to investigate so that he can report back with some sort of deliberation or opinion, that would naturally be exempt. If it's an email from the Chief to Mr. Umba saying, "Hey, we're having a festival on March 15th, it would be great for you to come," that email would naturally be produced. It all depends on what is the subject of that email, given his administrative role and the Chief's position as acting manager. If it touches upon the operation and the decision and the deliberative process, then it will not be produced. If it touches upon attorney-client privilege, because it's an email that I have sent to the Chief, Mr. Umba, council, anybody, not going to be produced. Those are the major 2. If there's a complaint from a resident that should be privileged under a privacy exception, that will not be produced. So there are certain exceptions, but it's whether or not it does. I can think of 100 emails that should be produced, and I can think of 1,000 emails that will never be produced.
Right. One last question. Can we get a financial description or a total amount of how much has been overpaid to people since the first of the year?
That involves personnel, so no, we cannot
Pardon me?
comment. We cannot comment on personnel at this time. It involves an active investigation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can I address one of Mary's, your first point about the audit?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a resolution, I'm not going to put it out tonight, that I think you've heard me talk about it before, of having a committee of people in the community that help us financially just look at the budget and see what we can do. I don't mean to develop the town, but look at the money we spend. So hopefully the audit and looking at the past audits would help us.
That's great.
So I'll probably introduce that at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
The lawyer has to look at it.
So that was provided to the manager's office, and the manager asked me to review that, Councilwoman Santamore. I would just, as we do this, I would say it needs a legal review.
Yes,
under this form of
I just said
government.
that.
Yeah, under this form of government, what I believe it envisions is working with the CFO. Council itself, as elected body, is not permitted to go to the CFO unless you go through the manager's office. If we're creating a sub-board that's now going to be going to the CFO and bypassing the manager's office, it's in conflict with our form of government.
But what about with committee, not a board, not a sub-board?
The issue is you're dealing with personnel. All personnel members of this town are subject to the manager. Council can, have a casual conversation. However, when directions of township operations or concern are in order, that all has to go through the manager's office. So your request has to really be vetted through council, because you're not permitted to do it. So what you're asking is for a sub-board appointed by this board to then have direct access to the CFO. You do not have direct access to the CFO because you have to ask the manager for permission in order to go to a department head.
Okay. And when we did the Affordable Housing Committee, that's what we did? Because Ray, didn't we start that this year? Would you talk about that for a minute?
So the Affordable Housing Committee answers to the manager. The manager is in charge of organizing your affordable housing compliance. You are asking about the budget. It is the manager's statutory responsibility to introduce a budget. It is the CFO's statutory responsibility to manage said budget after the council approves it.
So what do we do?
But there wasn't anything in the resolution, the draft, about going to the CFO.
Yeah, my fear, Councilman Cox, is that in this form of government, an employee can state that, to the manager, I feel as if I'm being put in a bad spot. I answer to you, you're my manager. You answer as manager to council, to the governing body. I just caution the council under this form of government that if you have a board that is then going to our CFO and then saying, I want us to, or let's use Mrs. Lucas's example. The manager grants raises within the confines of the budget. You need an approved, adopted budget. We are in a temporary budget based off of last year's numbers. But the manager has the statutory responsibility and ability, outside of a contract that's been negotiated and approved by council, to give raises to employees. If you were to make, hypothetical, Mrs. Lucas is on our new subcommittee on the budget. She goes to the CFO and says, I don't like that these raises have happened. My recommendation as a member of the subcommittee is for you to remove those and go back. That is a violation of the Faulkner Act.
Excuse me, but in this instance, they didn't know that those people were granted the raises. So this is a different scenario.
Well,
that's why the question has come up.
If you read the manager's duties, you're to report to the council actions that you may or may not have done. We are currently under a temporary budget. The budget has not been adopted, has not been approved by the state of New Jersey. We are in a temporary budget off of last year's numbers. So we are functioning on last year's numbers, and that's why the state says, and Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, it went from 26.25, we're now 40 or 30? So the state says at the beginning of the year, at the reorganization, the council may pass a budget that is 35% of last year's budget. And if they exceed the 35%, they are to enact another resolution, which is an emergency temporary budget increase until there's an adopted budget. So I would contend that it is not common practice to see non-contractual raises. Contractual raises have already been done. They have to go through. You have that obligation. That's an agreement. You would have an unfair labor charge from that union if you did not give them their raise that was negotiated. For non-negotiated employees that do not have a contract, typically towns wait until the adoption of the budget because the funds are not available.
Right, that's why I'm questioning it, because
So, again, I would refer to legal counsel. Once you give a raise, it's very hard to take it back, but it's because you have an unfair labor charge. But the manager has the statutory responsibility that he can grant a raise, and those raises should not happen until you have a budget that reflects those raises.
But it wouldn't be an unfair labor charge because they weren't supposed to get it.
In this form of government, it's the manager's. The manager has the right to do it. It's not. I would say it's improper because the budget is still a temporary budget and doesn't contemplate the raise. Because there is no budget passed by the governing body, who is the legislative body that set the budget. You're exceeding a budget, and that is why department heads and others know we are in a temporary budget situation. I'm not going to exceed. Because you don't want to ask council, hey, I need an emergency temporary authorization to the temporary budget. Because then that's showing, all right, I just increased the 35%. The state already changed that law. That's why I had to check with Lindsay from, I think it was 2 years ago, from 26.25% of the budget prior to 35% because it's taking towns so long to get their budget done. And this is the problem with budgeting, and Councilman Cox can talk about this. School districts are required to have their budget in place before their year starts.
Exactly.
We are not required to have our budget in place. That's why we have a temporary budget
So I think one of the difficulties with this also is that these increases were implemented prior to even the temporary budget being adopted. Because council didn't reorganize at that point, we had not approved the temporary budget, and yet these increases were already in place and put forward.
We are still investigating timing wise, but at that point,
Well, I think,
anything
I think we
happening
have a
before
right to know, as citizens, and we're also concerned about the budget. So we're all vested in this. Thank you.
You can look at any documents from other towns. My town, I can give that example. Township committee form of government. I do not have the power to give raises to non-contractual employees. I don't have the power to do that. I need to ask the chief executives who meet in a forum that is open to the Open Public Meetings Act. They need to pass it. So the budget was adopted at our April 21st meeting. Same meeting, the raises were then enacted by resolution. This form of government, the manager issues the raises that are non-contractual.
But to get back to the other point, there are a number of municipalities that do have committees that look at the economic health of the district, not district.
Yeah, I would have to just. You'd have to see what form of government it is. I'm just cautioning because of this form of government that is very, very strict, that gives the chief executive and the chief administrative powers to the manager. The manager never loses those powers. I hold them in trust in a township committee form of government because the committee can't meet as a body except in a publicly advertised meeting. But I have constraints. I can't give a raise because it has to be done by resolution in that form of government.
All I'm getting from this is the manager's job is incredible.
In this form of government, it is very much.
They have all the power. Once we grant them the power of the manager, they're in full control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, in this form of government, with the Faulkner Act, it's a manager strong. Yes, that manager has a significant amount of authority as opposed to some of the other towns where your mayor's strong. And I know Pat could probably speak to this better than I can, but that's why, this form of government that we have, you as a council, they hire the manager and then put that person in place.
So that goes back to what the other gentleman was saying. You're doing all this plus still being fire chief?
Yes.
And there's going to be no fires?
No.
Okay, all right.
But I will say one thing, I do have a very strong staff at the fire department, career volunteer. I mean, we're very lucky.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We did move a deputy chief's position in this year to assist me prior to all of this occurring, So we are very lucky in that.
I will say one thing on the record before you get to chat. You may understand then why we're loath to let somebody with the integrity of a Chief Dovey go with interviewing other new people. We have to do it, and we will do it. But until we're back where we need to be, I'm going to take somebody who's honest, who I've known for a good Lord amount of years. I know his children. I know how he feels about this town. I know his mother. His mother was an EMT. She got me through my days when I first started at the hospital. She has helped my father before he passed. Like, this is the man I want as the manager of our town. So when you ask why we're not rushing to do it, it's tough to give up somebody like him for the unknown.
But is it fair to him?
Valid, but we did give him the deputy. Right now, he says he's good, because I ask him pretty much
What else
every
did
week.
he say?
He'd tell me.
As I've said to council, I will continue to fulfill these roles until you, as the legislative body, make the decision to fill this position in whichever method you feel, interim, permanent, whatever it might be. So,
Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Earl Stoll, how are you, council? Chief Dovey, Mr. Umba, Patrick Vargas, Mr. Knoll, and Tara, how are you? I got a question for Mr. Varga. I'm still a little cloudy on the actual being in compliance time frame with a conditionally designated developer for those 4 or 5 resolutions. And the reason why I'm a little cloudy is whether something happens tonight or doesn't happen tonight. Does it have to come before the board a second time to approve the resolution?
Am I on? Hello? So the next step would be after we finalize negotiating the redevelopment agreement, there will be a resolution authorizing the execution of said redevelopment agreement, and upon its execution, they become the statutory designated redeveloper automatically. So this is the conditional designation with the condition subsequent of executing the redevelopers agreement.
And that has to be done.
The resolution,
Has to be done by May 14th?
May 13th.
13th. Okay. So in the highly likely event, if the township and the designee don't come to terms, are we in compliance?
Well, as of right now, assuming the council acts and they adopt the appropriate resolutions, then yes, we are in compliance.
But if they don't come to an agreement with regards to redeveloper agreement, are they still in compliance?
My answer is going to be yes, and we are currently in compliance. We are currently complying with the court order, and we will be in compliance in accordance with the court's deadline.
Okay. So now I go to Mr. Umba. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you last meeting. I never met you before in my life. Now I met you twice. Is Southampton in compliance with their fair share plan?
Our fourth round obligation is we are presenting a 100% affordable unit at a piece of property downtown.
At Allen's?
And yes.
Okay.
It's not Allen's, it's next door. It's commonly referred to as the Stokes Cannery.
Sure.
We are in compliance. As I stated, we have a court order for various documents that we would then need to provide, similar to what is here, by December 31st of 2026 is what our court order says.
Similar in one aspect. Southampton's pretty much in compliance.
We are. We are unique because the third round we won a lawsuit and we were forgiven our third round obligation because we designated a property and the developer couldn't make it work. And then we filed litigation and the court granted us the waiver for the third round.
And they granted you a time period till the end of the year, if I heard you correctly.
Yes.
Which is fine.
Yep.
So now I'm going to put my Terrence Cook judge hat on, which I'm not Terrence Cook, Honorable Terrence Cook. So Medford Township now comes in front of Terrence Cook Round 2. Have we solved round 2? Samost? We don't have that one solved.
Yes, we do.
How do we have that solved?
With the 60 units in Medford Heights.
Okay. How about round 3?
Round 3 will be resolved. Round 3 will be resolved by the designation of Flying W.
Okay. And then now we're in round 4, with text, which takes into consideration round 3 being part of that compliance. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'd be very careful. We're going down a slippery slope. Right now, we have control. Pretty soon, we may not have control. So I'm asking council to really think hard about all the things that have happened over the last few months. And I'm telling you, we have control, but we won't have control in the near future if this continues to go the way it's going. I'm a property owner. I have a right to file a lawsuit, and I will. And I'm going to be honest with you, because this is out of control. And I don't know who this young lady is, but to accuse a developer, to say that they shouldn't be in front of this town on 2 properties that I have under contract, which are 500 of those homes, when they went through round 3 and flawlessly developed those projects. Flawlessly. Okay? I don't know what the problems are up here with who's got whatever with regards to what developer, but they delivered. Take a look at Autumn Park. Take a look at the projects. The only one in round 3 that didn't get developed was Flying W. But that company can develop a home. Thank you for your time.
Would anyone else like to speak during public comment? Yes, ma'am. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Heather Hudson. I live at 13 Milton in Medford. I'm coming just with a suggestion, and it's because I watch other towns' council meetings. So I watch Evesham Township's every month, as well as you guys. One of the things that they do in their meeting, I wanted to share the idea and just put it out there for you to maybe discuss and see if it would work here. But during their meetings, their monthly council meeting, they ask a staff member from each one of their township departments to be present. And I realize tonight we have a lot of, wonderful staff members here, but they have at least 7, maybe more, that attend each meeting. And you'll see it at the end of their agenda where they're listed. So, for example, the solicitors report, and they will come up and speak. The Public Information and Municipal Operations report speaks. Engineers report, Parks and Open Space report, the golf course, police, fire, and EMS report. And it gives, I think, a nice update to everybody in the town, and in addition to the council, what everybody's working on, which is really great things. So I think that you would benefit, I think the township would benefit greatly by hearing what the departments are working on. For example, I know it's been mentioned if trash is an issue, where it had been, but we had the yard here, and they gave their update, someone from that department. Then they could speak to it. I wouldn't expect you guys to know those answers, but they do. So it's nice to have their input, especially if a resident is asking a question and you need an answer that night. So that's something that that town does, and I just would hope that maybe you discuss and consider it. One of the things, too, that I learned was I got the name of the members of that department by watching it, and then I was able to contact them and ask a question. They actually emailed them, and they called me back. One of the things I learned was that the golf course is owned by Evesham Township, which I never knew, and I grew up there. I also didn't know the revenue stream for that golf course is over $3 million a year, and that is public knowledge and on their website. When I sent the email, the gentleman called me back kindly. He told me it's public knowledge, it's on the website. I could, look at it. And that he also said half of that $3 million goes back to the township, half of it goes into the operational costs. So where you're talking about our budgets and trying revenue streams, personally, I envision some sort of a par 4 or a driving range as a possibility here in our town, maybe utilizing some open space that we have. It may be a benefit, but it's also a revenue stream that doesn't involve commercial and could also maybe bring you in something. I don't know how you would do it. That's up to the president.
That's why I wanted the committee to explore those ideas, because we need to do something.
Something.
And we have so many brilliant people in so many areas. And
Right.
you came up with a good idea, right? So,
Well, I'm just sharing what another town does.
and they do a good job.
And they do a good job, and they figured it out. Now, granted, I'm sure it's taken them a long time, but they figured something out, something we could also maybe do here. In addition, I will just end on this. When we had the winter storm, that golf course driving range was still open. So for 26 days straight, they still had revenue there at the driving range, whereas the golf course was obviously covered in snow. So something else to consider. It was still year-round.
Heather, before you go, along those lines, we just started something, and I believe Angela posted it today. Whereas I would say we're probably not going to have every department head here because of, again, cha-ching.
Oh.
We did put out a portal that any resident can ask a question. It'll get shuffled through the council, it'll go through any of the department heads, and then what we're going to do is answer those questions. And we haven't figured out all the details. We're literally just making it happen now. But I think to your point that if those questions are asked in the portal and they're asked of DPW or whomever, as a bare minimum, the town manager can get the information from his director and bring that information here. So it may not be quite what Evesham's doing because they've got their $3 million from the golf course and we don't, but we can definitely get you those answers, and anybody else. So that portal just started. Look for it. You've got the option for affordable housing questions, this, that, the other. I believe it literally started today.
Okay, I love that idea. I really do.
Yep.
I just think, I also love to hear what their departments are working on. So
That's a
that's the
great
other
point.
thing that they are bringing to the table. If they're working on development, if they're working on the road, if they're working on, something at the golf course, whatever it may be, it's, obviously if
Chief,
they have
can
the
you incorporate
solicitor.
that in your manager report? Something along those lines going forward? I mean, it's a great idea.
At the very least, we could at least have it on the website, feature somebody every.
Yeah, even if it's something that's every other month,
there's
whatever
video
you all
now,
decide,
too.
whatever you all decide. But
Even
with
on
them giving
Facebook.
updates, I think everybody craves the information. We just want.
So specifically, just so that the council knows, what you're referring to, the golf course is a utility. So the only utility that we have here is our water and sewer utility. They need to be self-liquidating. Utilities can give excess revenue or surplus to the municipal budget, of which they are a utility to. So that's how they're able to do it. It's not like you would create a department, a golf course department. It needs to be clearly a utility, of which then you need to make sure that it's self-liquidating, and there's other challenges that go along with that. I believe Lindsay pointed out, she did a great PowerPoint presentation on our budget, but we don't take utility surplus. We took a very, very small piece to pay for staff that cross between the utility and the municipal government, but we don't take surplus from there because they have to remain self-liquidating, and there's infrastructure items that would need to happen. So right now I would say Evesham is good because they don't have infrastructure items that they need to do at the golf course. But it all is an ebb and flow based off of it must be a utility in order to borrow the money. If it's a department within the town, it's going to already be folded into the township budget, so that doesn't mean that it can be an added revenue source, but it's not a liquidated revenue source that funds. And again, I think to Mrs. Lucas's part, you're not going to find this in the audit, but overutilization of one-time revenue sources is, I think, where we might be in an issue, because if you don't regenerate that one-time revenue source in the next budget, then you have a budget shortfall when it comes to revenue. So it's a double-edged sword. Putting $1.5 million of a revenue source from a utility might be good one year. and then there's a catastrophic wildfire that happens at the utility, it does have a catering and other where it will generate revenue, but
Right.
you lose a revenue generating item, and if the township relies on that one-time revenue to, let's say, fund employees, that happens every year, you lose that funding source, your next step is layoffs. Not.
I understand.
Yeah. And to Councilwoman
Okay.
Sandimore's point, we, during the budget process, are very interested in more ratables and utilities. So we have an economic development committee of which there's resident members, and that's overseen by the manager's department. They're looking at commercial development and things of that nature. Utilities are an opportunity for us to gain revenue. We don't need to copy Evesham's, but we can look at other opportunities that other municipalities in different areas might utilize as these utilities.
Okay,
Yep.
got you. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you.
And Chief, just another, Angela shares what's going on externally, but maybe to her point, she can also share what other departments are doing on our township page. Just the police department has their own township page, but I know it comes a lot of different things you'd have to follow. But maybe that might be something that if there's something that's worthwhile, sharing and different accomplishments, that we could put it on our page.
Excellent idea. It's really good.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak during public comment? Okay. Seeing none, motion to close?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Before we go any further, can we just thank everyone for that lovely Medford music on the porch?
Oh, definitely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
The
It was
merchants did
all
that,
kinds
yeah.
of music from the 70s up until country. It was really, really a wonderful day. So thank you to Angela. Great.
Okay.
You did a motion in a second. I don't know if you did a roll call.
Oh,
I'll make the motion to close.
Second.
yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comments closed. Now we are moving to the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I only have a couple of things tonight. We have 2 volunteers for consideration. You all should have their information in your packet. Shreya Kalapatipu and Elizabeth Brown, both new EMS junior members for Station 258. I don't know if you want to vote on that first, and then I can move to the rest of the report. Do you want me to go through the rest of the report?
Yep. As always, Chief, thank you very much for all the work that our volunteers do. We'll need a roll. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Volunteers are approved.
Thank you. We'll make sure they're made aware. As far as the missed trash collections in Medford, as we are all well aware of, we've scheduled a meeting with Republic this week to discuss those delays, and we will be presenting them with the liquidated damages request based on the number of routes that were missed, the percentages of the routes in accordance with the contract. As far as brush collection goes, I spoke to Brian Kopp today, our Director of Public Works. He said the crews are finishing in Zone 2 and will be moving into Zone 3, which is one of our largest areas. I did bring a map with me tonight in case any of the residents had any questions on where those zones were. But that's where we're at on brush collection. And then to the residents' requests about our banking, as far as I am aware and our CFO can confirm, we do not do any banking with Citizens Bank.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to your point earlier about brush collection, I know there's been many challenges over the last few months with Public Works because of the, just the nature of the beast there. But if maybe we could empower Angela to maybe put out that on social media and highlight the zones. I happen to know what zone I'm in, but
Right.
I might not know what zones they're actually working on. So that could be something we could utilize.
And moving into Zone 3 is a very large zone. It's very densely populated with trees, so there will be a significant amount of brush in that zone, so it will probably take a much longer time. And to the other residents' point, if they cannot find information on a specific department head on our website, if anybody emails manager@medfordtownship.com, we will make sure that gets to the appropriate manager and that they get back to them with their answers.
Great. All right, thank you. We do not have a clerk's report for this meeting. Next, we have a single bill list from April 28th, 2026. Any questions on the bills list? No?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, bill list is approved. We are now moving to ordinances for introduction. Do I have a motion on ordinance 2026-12?
I move that council introduce on first reading ordinance 2026-12, repealing and vacating Township Code 613 and entitled Affordable Housing Provisions in its entirety and replacing it with new section 613 entitled Affordable Housing.
Thank you. This ordinance, as Mr. Varga mentioned earlier, is a model ordinance from DCA related to our affordable housing obligations.
Correct.
Yep. At this point, we have a motion.
You need a second? And then
Second.
roll call.
Second and roll call.
Ms. Santamore? Yay. Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye. Okay. Second reading and public hearing for this ordinance will be on May 12th. Okay. We now move to ordinances for second reading with public hearings. Do I have a motion for ordinance 2026-11?
So moved. I'll second.
Do we need it read?
It's ordinance 2026-11, amending Chapter 71, fees and licenses of the Township Code of Water, for water and sewer utilities. This is the public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So now I will open it up
To the public.
for matters related only to ordinance 2026-11. Seeing none, motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Roll call for approval?
Roll call.
Roll.
Ms. Santamore? Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye. Okay. Ordinance 2026-11 passes. Now we will move to the consent agenda resolutions.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. There are two remaining resolutions on the consent agenda. Resolution 100-2026, adopting an affordable housing spending plan in accordance with the Township's fourth round affordable housing obligations, and Resolution 105-2026, amending appointments to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Those are on the consent agenda.
I don't believe I officially removed the others from consent. Is that correct?
We did do that in the beginning.
Okay, just to confirm. Okay. So now, motion to approve Resolution 101 and 105, correct?
No, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 100 and 105 from the consent
100
agenda.
and 105.
Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions 100-2026 and resolution 105-2026.
I'll second that.
Ms. Santamore?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next resolution is going to be Resolution 101-2026, conditionally designating D.R. Horton as the redeveloper of lots 28.02 and 39.03, Block 302, Medford, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey. For the mayor and public's consideration, this is the Camp EFS property.
Thank you.
Need a motion and a second, and then roll call.
So moved.
Second.
She seconded.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Santamore?
Yay.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye.
Next resolution is going to be Resolution 102-2026, conditionally designating D.R. Horton as the redeveloper of lots 6.01 and 6.02, Block 803, Medford, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey. For mayor, members of the public, this is the property commonly known as Kirby Mill.
Motion to approve the conditional designation.
Second.
Ms. Santamore?
Yay.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye.
And I apologize for a correction, that is the Rick's Auto Body property as well. I apologize. Next resolution, Resolution 103-2026, conditionally designating D.R. Horton as the redeveloper of lots 14, 26, 29, and 49, Block 302, Medford, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey. This is the property commonly known as Trollinger.
Motion to approve the conditional designation.
Second.
Second. There we go.
Ms. Santamore?
Yay.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sizzak?
Aye.
And the final resolution for consideration is Resolution 104-2026, conditionally designating D.R. Horton as the redeveloper of Block 301, Lot 5.01, and Block 303, Lots 1, 3, and 4, Medford, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey. This is the property commonly known as Flying W.
So moved.
Motion to approve the conditional designation.
Second.
Ms. Santamore?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Milk?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Voorhees?
Aye.
Mayor Sims?
Aye.
There's no reason to go into executive session. We can have an adjournment if the council is so entitled.
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
If we ever finish it.